Welcome back to another episode of the Stack Supplement Podcast. We run down all of the top stories and exciting announcements shared on our website from the past 7 days. It has been a busy few days, weeks, and in fact, since the start of the year. I say this every week. It has just been ridiculously fast-paced with the innovation that's been coming out. Brands have been on the toes. I will say a lot of Europe seems to be a little more at the forefront, basically, in terms of just pace and pumping things out and keeping things interesting. And yeah, it's been incredible to watch, and we have another week of roundups for you. We are now also 3.5 weeks out, 3.5 weeks away from the sports festival, where we are going to have one hell of a time. If you're not there, be there, basically. I look forward to seeing you and everybody else that comes out. We're going to start things off with the news from PES Science. So if you're not at all familiar with, I call them PES or PES Science, you can say whatever you want. PES Science has been around for an immense amount of time, mostly known for its select protein powder. In fact, long before we had this rush and surge of protein powders that were very focused and heavy on flavor, PES was kind of the king of that, really. It was, to be honest, as far as I remember, it was the first gourmet protein powder I can ever recall seeing come to market. It was just fantastic when it first rolled out. I believe they had a peanut butter one, they had vanilla, they did a chocolate. All of them were very unique, very different. Snickerdoodle was another one. They just did some damn good flavors, no matter what they kind of approached. Their sweetness and just their gourmet texture put them above most others, and it's been incredible to watch them since. I've obviously done many other supplements. Alphamine was another big one for them. They even did a protein bar. They've recently done the Versa energy drink, and now they're doing another flavor, and that flavor is called, sorry, scrap that, it's not another flavor, it's another protein powder. And this is a big deal because PES has notoriously had that select protein powder available for a while, and it was its first real foray into the space, and they've done various spin-offs since. They had the Select Cafe series, they had the Select Plant Protein, they've done a few things. Now they have a protein that's non-select branded with PES Isolate, and this is very much just as clean as you can get in terms of an isolate protein powder. They don't differ too far from the traditional recipe. You get 25 grams of protein, all of that coming from fast absorbing and lean whey isolate, alongside 2 to 3 grams of carbs, just 2 grams of fat, and 110 to 120 calories depending on the flavor, which we know from their reputation is going to be on point. I wouldn't suspect that they would not deliver on taste after their immense experience in the space. And I would imagine you're very much getting that quality select PES taste that we all know and love, with an isolate base. Now, isolate traditionally is not as thick, and that's not a knock on the brand itself. It's just isolate is nowhere near usually as thick or creamy as something like a blend of whey and casein or anything like that, or even any blend formulas. But I suspect that hasn't held them back from giving you that damn tasty experience. It's out now. They have 2 flavors, 2 of the most traditional flavors you can get, although they've given them some quirky names, some tasty names, and gourmet chocolate and vanilla cupcake. And they're available now through PES's website. Now, it is worth mentioning they do come at a slightly higher price. Basically, for those unfamiliar with kind of the perks of a blend versus isolate, it basically comes down to the source. Generally speaking, you cannot get a protein powder as lean as an isolate with something like a whey concentrate or a blend. You might see isolates that aren't as lean, but that tends to be kind of the difference. And with that leaner profile, that more concentration of protein, you get a faster uptake. That's generally the difference, is the better bioavailability, uptake and whatnot. And yeah, so that kind of is the perks. If that isn't something that is for you, I prefer blend every other area outside of post-workout. Sometimes I switch it up. It is a very specific thing, and it does cost slightly more. I believe it is $54.99 for the isolate, and I can't recall if the select was $44.99 or $49.99, but they both have the same amount of servings and same protein per serving. So it's a nice way to tell you, like, hey, this is just this much more expensive for this level of protein powder or this quality of protein powder. Next up, we're going to jump over to an interesting brand, a very interesting brand, which I'm kind of disappointed I didn't save them until the end for the round out part. But this brand is kind of stumbled across our desk just randomly. That happens. Brands reach out day to day, and sometimes brands just get passed on to us that we're like, holy shit, I didn't know this was out there. This was being done. And we are talking about Squish Energy. Now, the name doesn't give it away, but Squish Energy is a pre-workout jelly company. So basically it's a company that makes jelly shots or little packets of jelly, pre-made jelly, so not a powder that you would make yourself. Little packets of jelly, and you basically just rip the cap off and throw them down. Kind of like you would a squeeze gel or a gummy or a candy or some sort of even a pre-workout beverage. This is basically just that with a jelly. And I got to commend them, as most of the time you wouldn't, usually these convenient functional formats, especially gummies, you get held back on formula. You're like, oh cool, I would love to have candy before my workout, as opposed to like something as traditional as a drink, which is fine either way. But the catch is usually gummies are more expensive, and the gummy itself doesn't have that much room. Very similar to capsules. Capsules you don't get anywhere over 1 gram per capsule. So if you want to be getting a 10 gram, if you want 10 grams of citrulline in your pre-workout and you can't get over 1 gram per capsule, you got to be comfortable with 10 plus capsules. And so there are limitations in different formats. Now the jelly from Squish Energy, I have to give it up to them. It hasn't held them back. It's not the formula I just expected it to be. Usually when something has a format that is not gimmicky, but different and unique, and that's their selling point, they don't really follow through elsewhere. They'll, okay, whatever, 500 milligrams of citrulline, 1 gram of beta-alanine, some shit like that. And Squish Energy hasn't really done that. They've done a pretty good formula. Now the ingredient list isn't as long as we've seen from, I guess, some of your powder supplements, but again, keep in mind this is a functional format. This isn't going to have the capacity of the powder. But in the meantime, and in saying that, they've done a fantastic job. So in each little gummy gel shot, you can say, jelly shot, you get 150 milligrams of caffeine, 1.6 beta, 3 grams of citrulline malate, 100 alpha GPC, and 100 theanine. Now, you may have heard me say 1.6, so yes, that is, if for those not familiar, typically you want 3.2 grams of beta-alanine, very similar to like 6 grams of citrulline and 300 milligrams of caffeine. These are all common amounts. You'll notice that Squish Energy has put half the beta-alanine, which to me is more of an indicator to be like, okay, cool, you can have 2 of these. So you can actually throw down 2 of these jellies and get similar ingredients and dosages to other pre-workouts. In fact, you could probably throw down 3. That would give you 9 grams of citrulline malate, 4.8 of beta-alanine, 450 caffeine, 300 alpha GPC, and 300 theanine. None of those dosages are unheard of and can be found in other pre-workouts. So they've given room to scale. It's not like they've like when you get something that's got 300 milligrams of caffeine and shit of everything else, it sucks because it limits you. You can't have 2 servings because then you're getting 600 milligrams of caffeine and still somewhat moderate amounts of the other things. Here, they've given it a nice balance. So you could throw down 2. You could throw down 3 if you want to be a bit edgy, and the amounts aren't unheard of. And the price, like to be honest, if I saw this at a counter, so it's a 12 count for $25 or 24 packs for $46. So that works out to be like, I think it was just under $2 or something per pack. Now, for the 12 count, it's 25. When you get to the 24, it's under $1. Now, if I saw this at a counter, $3.50 for 2, I would probably take that. I would probably take that, especially since you also don't get, if I hadn't have a pre-workout or whatever on me, I would go for that. I would go for that very well. It's very interesting. The taste is intriguing. Sorry, not the taste, the experience. The fact that it's jelly. It is actually jelly. If you go on the site, you can see it. We even got a video on social that shows you it is straight jelly. So it's a very cool little product, very unique. Squish Energy is the name, and you can check them out on the site. Next up, we're going to jump on over to Gorilla Mind, who did something pretty interesting. So they announced a change to Gorilla Mode Nitric, which is their, I believe, underrated but incredibly stacked pump pre-workout. And we went on the site and there was a different formula, but it wasn't the completely revamped version. There was one with like arginine and inositol silicate, but it wasn't nitrosamine branded. And I was like, okay, they've changed. Either way, it's neither here or there. You will see 2 posts on the site. The latest one is one kind of saying like, hey, this is the actual revamp. And they've done a few changes. So mostly The biggest change appears to be the experience, how you drink it. So they got rid of the grittiness, they increased the mixability, which also then allows for better taste. So they made a lot of experiential things better in Gorilla Mode Nitric. The ingredients, however, are very much the same with a few tweaks. So I wouldn't suspect a huge variance in pumps. I do have this supplement. I have 3 tubs in my cupboard right now. It is, again, a powerhouse pump pre-workout, and you'll see that when you get the formula. But they have made a few tweaks that again, in my experience, won't make a huge difference in terms of oh my God, these pumps are amazing. Holy shit, they're godlike type thing. I suspect it'll be more refined and efficient, especially with the mixability and the taste tweaks that they've done. But the new formula breaks down to 10 grams of straight citrulline. These are similar to the previous one, 5 grams of creatine monohydrate, 4 grams of betaine. Now 4 grams of glycerol, but they changed. Previously it was glycer pump, now it is hydro prime. You've then got 3 grams of malic acid, just a nice citrulline malic acid combination there. 3 grams of taurine, an NO3T sodium nitrate at a huge 1.5 grams. Now don't confuse this, and I've mentioned this before. If you get 2 grams of citrulline nitrate and you get 2 grams of sodium nitrate, those are not the same amount of nitrates, not even close. I haven't actually been able to put it out there too much, but there are some supplements that break it down that'll say this is how many nitrates you get from the 2 grams. Ghost is a good example of this. But there is a huge variance with arginine nitrate, citrulline nitrate, some of the common amino acid ones. They're not the same, but they're in a relative ballpark. When you get to the mineral, I believe sodium nitrate and potassium nitrate, the 2 of the other ones that are out there, those are much higher. I'm talking twice the nitrates, give or take. If I recall correctly, I could be miles off on that. I know that it was somewhere in that variance of that realm. So 1.5 of sodium nitrate is huge. Usually I don't recall seeing that over a gram, but here you get 1.5. And Gorilla Mind is never afraid of putting down more than you need and then some in a pre-workout. So that is a pretty solid dose. Was already in there. And then you've got a gram of agmatine and double dose of Vasodrive AP at 508 up from 254. Now I did say that the version we saw on the site had arginine and inositol silicate, but didn't have the nitrogen tag to it. Previously it did. This new version doesn't have it at all, so it's been taken out completely. So the double Vasodrive essentially is a replacement, I guess, for the nitrogen. They've added more of that, then they've switched up the glycerols, and I imagine that all of this helps play into the experience of the mixability and all that stuff. But very few tweaks in terms of formula. Mostly it seems to be on the front end of how you'd mix it, drink it, taste, and all that stuff. You can check it out on the site and grab it now from the Gorilla Mind website. Rolling through, we do have a bit of an admin update, which I should touch on slightly, and that was, we mentioned it on the site, the comment system. We actually had a previous comment system in place with Facebook, and it was glitchy as shit, and spam was not being stopped. And so we've now got a system that allows us for significantly more moderation, really. And we've already had a bunch of people comment, and it's a more open system. So if you do like to comment, or you were wanting to comment, or you didn't like Facebook, drop by now. It's a simple load button. So you basically just press the comments button now at the bottom of each post, and you'll be able to see what people have said and throw it down yourself. And it does require some sort of login, and you can log in with a Twitter or a Facebook, or it doesn't copy over credentials or anything. It's just sort of a source of logging in. And you can even do email, and you can also post as a guest. So it's a nice, more open system, and we can moderate it much easier. I thought I'd just throw that in there in the middle of all of this, as I forgot during the beginning. We're going to jump now over to Elite, which is one of the many cereal companies, or protein cereal companies in the UK. They have quite a few of them compared to, I guess, anywhere else in the world, including the US, and Elite is one of them. But Elite is quite an interesting one because they came out with a protein cereal, nice breakfast cereal-like product. And more recently that they changed it to, well, they didn't change it, sorry. They came out with another product that came out with a granola, and I really liked how they diversified. Typically you see brands doing flavors, you see them doing whatever, keto-friendly, vegan, whatever it may be. And they did a granola, and I thought it was really cool to see them kind of stick to the breakfast realm, stick to a breakfast food, familiar type, and just, again, stay to that space. And this was something that Magic Spoon The Giant Magic Spoon recently just did, but please don't get it twisted. Elite did it first. If we're checking points here, Elite was one of the first, if I recall, to do it. Now they've done another food, and they've been teasing over the last few weeks, and we suspected it might be like a higher protein version of their cereal. We even thought it might be another type of breakfast cereal, just because we had the crispy cereal pieces, and then we had the granola, and that's what we've got. They've come out with Elite Protein Overnight Oats, and it is pretty much what the name implies, something that recipe I do myself every day, not always overnight, but oats mixed with protein. And it is as straightforward as that sounds. The idea is that you do prepare it, I guess, like you would traditional overnight oats, mix it up with water or milk, throw it in the fridge, have it the next morning, it's nice and mushy, so on and so on. Or you can just scoop it into your shaker in the morning, shake it up, throw it down, put it in a bowl, whatever you want. But the premise is simple. It is basically just oats or oatmeal, and then added protein. Now it is worth noting that this is a plant-based protein powder, so you get, well, nutrition supplement, you get 20 grams of protein from plant-based pea protein, along with whole grain oats, as well as a few superfoods in there by dates, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, and whatnot. The nutrition profile balances out at 20 grams of protein next to 32 carbs, low 4 grams of that sugar, 9.5 fat, 322 calories. There are two flavors, chocolate and apple cinnamon. So two very suitable flavors for the morning, especially the apple cinnamon. And I just think it's a great addition for them to do this. Again, just sticking to the breakfast realm specifically. I like when a brand sticks to a theme and just runs with it. That's what they're doing here. They have given you pretty much what you would get from the other ones. Higher protein foods that you can have, or you're familiar with in the breakfast window: cereal, granola, now oatmeal. And I thought that was just a really cool way for them to continue their expansion and reach into other audiences. And so yeah, next up, we're going to stick in the UK realm. Well, not necessarily the UK, Europe as well. But one of the biggest stories we shared, not last week, the week before, was one of many Monster's upcoming innovations is a partnership or collaboration with Formula One and McLaren racer Lando Norris. When I looked online, there was mentions of this before, and then I guess they kind of flat out confirmed it and whatnot. And so it's basically going to be a special edition collaboration, very similar to the Lewis Hamilton ones and the Doctor that we've previously seen in the UK and Europe. It's a zero sugar energy drink themed around Lando Norris, and it's got his helmet design covering the can. Really cool little pattern. But a lot of people asked us when it was coming out, and that's purely what I'm going to tell you here. As we posted last week after a lot of requests, kind of when, where, how, what, whatever. All we know is it is its own little flavor. We imagine it's going to have some sort of enjoyable taste. It won't have any sugar. It is going to have, I guess, your typical amount of caffeine. I'm gathering, I don't actually know, I just assume, I would guess that it's going to have around that typical Monster area of like 150, maybe 160, 140 in the UK. And it's coming out in the middle of the year. So that was a lot of people were curious when they could actually get it, as is the case whenever you see something new. When can I get my hands on it? When can I buy it? Especially if it's something that they'd really want to try. And the Lando Norris collaboration, they said middle of the year, which let's just say we're speaking June, July, potentially August. I would say June, July, maybe August at the latest, but that puts it around 4 to 5 months away. So you can suspect to probably see some announcements, I would think, like, hey, coming soon, 4 weeks away type stuff. I would guess around May, maybe April, May, and then finally get your hands on it in June and July in the UK. But as we pointed out on our post, and a lot of people said, it was announced as a UK innovation, but my suspicion, and I'm gathering, it is going to end up in other parts of Europe, as is the case with other UK innovations like the Lewis Hamilton collab and the Doctor. And to be honest, most companies that have like a UK, that is one responsible for distributing across Europe. And so I would suspect this is going to be the way as well. We just say it's a UK one because it was announced as UK innovation. So keep an eye out for that. Many months from now, I suspect there'll be more innovation shared from Monster and energy drinks in general between now and then. Next up, we're going to roll over to, we'll finish off with three of these stories and keep it nice and interesting. We now go to Ghost, who is bringing back a flavor of its energy drink that you may recall seeing, I think it was a year or so ago, called Phase Phase Pop, not to be confused with Phase Up, which was a pretty damn tasty one we quite liked. But Phase Pop was the Bomb Pop inspired flavor from Ghost, and it had a very nice little design reflecting that whole inspiration. The Bomb Pop, a traditional taste were in the mix, cherry, lime, and blue raspberry. And so they're bringing it back. They've relaunched it as America Pop. So very different can design, very similar color stepping, so blue, white, and then red. It is the same inspiration, the whole Bomb Pop thing, and they've even got like a nice little image on the front. But it is the same. We were told it is the same. Usually Ghost, we've flat out reached out to them about this. Usually if it is better, different, or even slightly alternative, like we've seen with some of their reskins, and we actually asked them, I think it was it Wide Awake Watermelon, and they said, yeah, this isn't the same as Warhead's Watermelon. This was said to be the same. So they didn't say they refined it, they didn't say they tweaked it, they just flat out said it was the same. So it is, as far as we know, Phase Pop reignited and relaunched as America Pop, and you can get it now. I believe it's rolling out now. It is rolling out now. We had seen a lot of people with it in hand and from stores. So check out the site for more details. The next story we're going to close out with comes from the gaming brand, no less, G Fuel, who did something quite interesting last week. Now, before G Fuel came into prominence, they used to do, they were just energy and focus. They had their signature supplement, G Fuel Energy Formula. And that was really the gaming category. It was very much not an intense nootropic, but more like a dialed back, more moderate nootropic. Didn't go too intense with the advanced ingredients that you get in these nootropic supplements that help with clarity, brain function, and mood. It was just more sensory focus, immediate effects, energy. And that was somewhat what we called the gaming category. And that just kind of emerged from that being what supplement companies did, who were focusing on gamers. Now, G Fuel really twisted it up along the way as it exploded, as it grew. It came out with an energy drink, and then it also did a hydration supplement. And I thought it was a very bold move of them, but it seemed to have paid off, because now you see hydration products from many other people. Now, hydration does fit. I get it. It makes sense for you're sitting there gaming, something you could sip throughout. Cool, I understand that. But you have to realize that wasn't the case prior. They could have done aminos. They could have done flavored vitamins and minerals. There are many things that they could have done, and a lot of them could have made sense, but G Fuel went with hydration, and now you have companies from all around the world, gaming supplement companies, doing hydration products, and just sort of that being the thing to do in gaming. So last week, G Fuel kind of really stepped that up, and they did a new hydration supplement called Hydration Plus Focus. And I wouldn't say this is as bold as what they did when they first did hydration, but it is incredibly innovative. So they took the powerhouse cognition and focus ingredient cognizin citicoline, and they basically threw it into a hydration blend. So it's essentially electrolytes with cognizin to support hydration performance, recovery, and then the benefits of focus and cognition from the cognizin. And I thought that was just, much to what I was saying, hydration's a nice fit for sitting there, long gaming sessions, whatnot. This is something that you can have that can elevate focus, not necessarily energy, but elevate focus like you get from your original gaming supplement. But this doesn't contradict or conflict with the original G Fuel energy formula. You can have these two at the same time. You can have them one after another. There is no caffeine in the new Hydration Plus. So there's not going to be a compounding effect where you might get too jittery. It is purely just electrolytes and cognizin, and a simple combination, but at the same time, very fitting, very well suited, and just a nice, very creative thing for them to do. And I got to give it up to them. They were the ones that kind of welcomed hydration into gaming, and they are the ones to kind of blend it all together with cognizin and kind of just step it up. Like, hey, electrolytes are cool, and we're going to give you something else that's going to benefit you while you're not caffeinated or not caffeinating and gaming away. So I thought it was very interesting, very creative, and you can get it now. It does come in stick packs, so not like the bulk tubs of G Fuel's original signature supplement, but single serving stick packs in a variety of flavors. And now we have our last story, and this is a bit of last week's news as well as this week. So Kudo teased that it was coming out with a brand new something. It didn't really say much of anything. It kept it pretty vague. It just, didn't say jack shit. And then a few days later, they've actually unveiled it all here today, Monday, kind of just basically revamping the entire lineup. So last week they cleared their Instagram, they started putting up all these yellow teasers, and it is exactly what we suspected. So we thought that they were going to rebrand with a yellow look and 2 bags, one big, one small, and I'm gathering a refined product. So Kudo has pretty much done that. They have rebranded. They've now given themselves a fresh, vibrant yellow look. There are a few accents on each product relating to flavor. So previously they each had their own color. Now you've got that yellow consistent uniform, and then there's stripes in the background kind of outlining each flavor. Those flavors are all the same, so they haven't deviated too much from the original menu. In fact, at all, they haven't deviated at all. The 3 flavors are still salty, sweet kettle corn, garlic, parmesan, and white cheddar. Now, pretty much everything else has changed. So again, the look is different. They now have a 2 ounce and a 4 ounce bag. You get 60% more protein, so it's 16 grams of protein in the 2 ounce bag, and the 4 ounce, being twice the size, has 32 grams. And the nutrition is similar to previously, but you have that extra protein. So alongside the 16 grams of protein in the 2 ounce size, you get 16 to 20 grams of carbs, 4 grams or less sugar, no sugar in 2 of the 3 flavors, 18 to 22 fat, and that's really where the bump in calories comes. So just to give it straight, they do say on the back like 2 servings per bag, and then the 4 ounce is 4, I believe. Each serving is an ounce or whatever. Basically, those numbers I just read were for the entire 2 ounce bag. And so, yeah, 16 protein, 16 to 20 grams of carbs, 300 calories all up. And then, yeah, you can double that for the 4 ounce bag. The bigger bag, taking you to 32 protein and 600 calories. So it is not the leanest protein snack in the world, and it's mostly due to the fat, but it is a quality, better for you treat, something you can have that's better for you than, I guess, traditional protein or even some sort of salty treat. It does a damn good job. And the other thing that they've done is that they have improved the taste or the flavor. So they actually went pretty deep and said that they changed I'm not a scientist, food scientist on this case, but they changed the mushroom kernel. And it's basically created a larger shell or larger shape. And yes, it adds more crunch, but then it also gives them the ability to spread out more flavor. So a lot of things have gone into this, a lot of differences: look, size, nutrition, taste, flavor, texture, but similar options to choose from. And you can get them now from the Kudo website. They have I think it's $333 for a set of 12 of the 2 ounce, and then the 4 ounce, again, twice as big, but you're only paying $380 for per bag for 12. So you're paying what, 40 cents more for twice as much. So if you have the dedication to open a bag and seal it back up, you can save some money if you just grab the 4 ounce. But yeah, you can check out that on the website as well as everything else we mentioned during this episode. As always, make sure you check out the website every day. Follow us on socials, share everywhere, share everything. Stay informed with every piece of news we put out there, because that is all we're trying to do. And visiting the website is all we need you to do. So share with your mom, dad, brother, sister, grandma, grandpa, niece, nephew, whoever is willing to learn more about protein powders, pre-workout snacks, functional foods, and energy drinks. But for this episode, that is it. Thank you for listening.